In our last episode on the Cabal's silent war on the American people, we revealed that the CIA seemed to know Osama bin Laden's whereabouts, even prior to the 9/11 attacks, and that this could have been the real reason Bill Cooper was killed. After all, his release of silent weapons for quiet wars caused quite a stir. Many wonder if the Bilderberg Group is actually behind its creation, and if so, what does that mean for the American people? All of this and more on this episode of Edge of Wonder. And here they are, your hosts, Ben and Rob.
In our last episode, we talked about some big things that Bill Cooper, who wrote Behold a Pale Horse, knew, such as Osama bin Laden was just a deep state tool used to bring the population under more control.
We talked about how Thomas Paine, aka Mike Moore, from True Pundit website, figured out that the CIA and former Saudi officials were hiding him in Iran, and that the $1.8 billion that Obama gave to Iran was actually a bribe to stop them from exposing the truth. But for this, we are going to go more into the first chapter of Bill Cooper's book, Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, which is basically the Cabal or Deep State's plan and how to begin their new world order.
The Quiet War. So this document isn't very long, but sparked a huge movement over this. But it can be broken down in a few different ways. But it states that the Quiet War was quietly declared by the international elite at a meeting held in 1954, which was the first ever Bilderberg meeting.
So it compares how energy is generated or works with real-life situations. For example, we all know energy is the key to all activity on Earth, and this states it too.
So to preserve their world order of what they call peace and tranquility, which isn't what we would actually call it, they decided to, quote, privately wage a quiet war against the American public with an ultimate objective of permanently shifting the natural and social energy wealth of the undisciplined and irresponsible many into the hands of the self-disciplined, responsible, and the worthy few, unquote.
But it also states that we, the people, are the beasts of burden, which is why they call us sheep, cattle, and sometimes you hear the word goyim, or now sheeple, but don't have any intelligence and are no better than a steak on a table. But at least they called us steaks and not fried chicken.
I enjoy eating both of those, Ben. Anyway, yeah, so that's really thoughtful of them. If you're not offended, just wait, there's so much more to this. They realized that the lower class society must be brought under complete control because this creates dependency on the government in every way.
For example, since both parents have to work to make ends meet and can't afford a better daycare, they have to use government daycare. When the child grows up, they live in a poor neighborhood, so his education is poor. Then as he gets older, he can't afford college, and most likely they might not even finished or barely finished high school. So he depends on the government for income, living arrangements, etc. This just goes on.
So yeah, they basically become a slave to the system. So when the elections come, of course, that person is just going to vote for whatever candidate gives him what he needs. Plus, they become a weapon for the deep state when they need them to speak out. Just get the media to prey on his emotional side and boom, they're out protesting and rooting for the same people that actually created this situation for them. That is how they work.
Yep. And also for the upper ruling class, this creates a system of order and peace for them. Such as instead of the ruling class doing things themselves, they can just have the lower class do all the work for them, like if the ruling class doesn't like something going on. So while the elites sit back and enjoy their wine or blood, maybe, people are fighting against each other, protesting, stealing, all really for the wrong reasons.
And this is because society can't figure out the root cause. They blame each other or whoever they're being told to blame by the media. Now, as for the middle class, the Cabal understands how to program people, and this is what they get the middle class to do. They realize that if they market a product on TV as if they were all 12 years old, the person will respond similar to how a 12-year-old does. So if they pass a product in a store, they're more likely to buy it on an impulse.
And everyone seems to know this very well with Apple products. We all need the new iPhone that just came out, even though the one that we got last year works perfectly fine. But their marketing tactics make you want to buy it, and if you don't have the money,
well, you can charge it. Which is why credit cards came out according to the report. This is why credit cards really came into our society, to give us the idea that we have credit, when really it's a false sense of security, putting more and more people in debt.
Also, they want to limit the amount of cash people have, since we won't spend as much cash as we would if we use a credit card. But there is a whole other reason for using a credit card, which we'll get into in a moment.
They also realize that they can change people's spending habits by sending shockwaves into society by sudden change in staple items such as gas, food products, coffee, milk, etc., it basically makes our stress levels rise tremendously, right?
Then this makes us want to escape from reality, so we feel the need to see a violent movie, play video games, smoke, go to a bar, do drugs, whatever it is. They even have a mathematical theory for this, which is mentioned in the document called Operations Research.
So the purpose is to distract from the real issues of what is happening and our world, and to stop having them ask important questions that could lead them to figuring all of this out. So instead, they want them to just escape and forget about all of their troubles and worries. The more people escape, the more asleep they will be and oblivious to the control that's actually happening.
Now, it doesn't say this in the language. You have to remember it is dated in 1979. But essentially, it is saying that they can create an algorithm that can show exactly how people react once a created event or shock in the economy is programmed. So they know exactly how people will act or how they will respond once this is introduced into society.
The UPC code, which stands for Universal Product Code, was introduced in 1974 on a pack of gum. You guys are smart. I'm sure some of you wondered why we really have this code on products, right?
Well, this was so everything we buy with a credit card is entered in a computer and can give a readout of exactly how the person will act, his habits, records, you guys, you name it. This way, they can program us into doing whatever it is they want us to do. Like if they release a product, they know for sure that these people will go out and buy it.
And now with technology, it's even more, such as our social media profiles, all the things we interact with online, who our friends are, emails we send out, bank accounts, phone conversations, stocks, welfare, clothes, food. The list goes on and on. But we're getting a lot of comments that we've helped many of you guys wake up to these things, and that's actually amazing.
Yeah, we had no idea where this was going when we first started. We had a list of topics, but things got super crazy with the deep state. So we are happy that you guys are enjoying it and definitely not depressed from it, because this can get very heavy stuff.
But yeah, we wanted to present this in a way that wasn't all doom and gloom, and hopefully we've done that. That was actually our biggest fear, but somehow it seems to all be working out, and you guys all seem to be understanding all of that. But okay, let's get into how advertisers use this to sell us stuff.
For advertisers, we all know how annoying it is when you search for something online, like a camera, and then all of a sudden you see ads everywhere for it. But they use this, like they, as in the deep state, use this for population control. They know exactly how the public will respond to any situation.
They want to gain complete control over us, and to quote the document, quote, keep the public undisciplined and ignorant of the basic system principles on the one hand, while keeping them confused, disorganized, and distracted with matters of no real importance on the other hand, unquote.
Again, so this is so they can do things behind the scenes while no one is really noticing, because we are all too focused on being distracted with self-indulgence and mental and emotional rape by a constant barrage of sex, violence, media talking about wars, and keeping us in a state of fear with terrorist attacks. It just goes on and on and on, right? They call this junk food for thought. They can easily shift our thinking to whatever it is they want us to think.
There are three ways that they do this. One is the media, which is used to create divisions with the goal to keep the public attention away from the real issues. So they keep you focused on what the latest scandal with the Kardashians are, so you don't see the real news behind it. Schools are another. They don't teach us real economics, real law, even real history, and instead instill in us ideas of socialism and communism.
Now with entertainment, it says keep us below a 6th grade level. An example from our understanding with this would be take the arts. Modernist style artwork or paintings or something just thrown on a canvas with zero technique that Michelangelo and Leonardo would all, the great painters, would just call trash. And take these art and now they become popular.
And this we know is happening for sure, because someone in the elite society buys it, hangs it on their wall in a prestigious building or a school, and now all of a sudden this painting style is in, and they are just being sold for millions of dollars. And it's just expensive trash, to be honest.
They did this to throw out the upright and the traditional, to further bring down society and feed on everyone's emotional side to become more and more irrational. So again, they can control us. It all comes back to control.
Also, it's stated that the more confusion the general population is in, the more the profit they achieve. For example, this is the worst part. They actually create situations like we described earlier to shock a society. Society flips out and they come in looking like good guys and offer a solution to the problem. So manipulative.
Yeah, and this is exactly what has been happening for years. A big example of this would be the stock market crash. They make it crash, society is in panic mode, then they come in and start setting up more rules and regulations, and it looks good actually, and maybe give almost like a next to nothing tax break, which makes the public think they're saving the day, and they feel a false sense of security.
But the goal of this is to destroy people's faith in the American culture, turn everyone against each other while simultaneously taking control of the money and having people lose faith in religion, God, and just belief in general.
Inflation is another avenue they use. Also, since they eliminated the gold standard, technically speaking, there's no limit to how much money they can print. So they print more money, give it to people, and which, quote, puts a large quantity of money into the hands of the public and maintains a balance against their greed, creates a false self-confidence in them, and for a while stays the wolf from the door.
Knowing that the average person will become greedy if they don't have money or you give them some so that they want more, it states, quote, let the populace bludgeon each other to death in war, which will only result in a total destruction of the living earth, unquote.
And it gets way better later. Wait till we get to the next quote. But we have been seeing this play out for years. I mean, I was at Ferguson at the height of the protests, and this made me really realize what was happening, and I wasn't even reading this stuff then. But back to this, I mean, it says it's a process of benevolence, slavery, and genocide.
Benevolent and slavery and genocide should not be put in the same quote together, but somehow they managed to do it. So like, what is this? Forcing someone to do your work and in return you shower him with compliments and then wipe out their race? I mean, man, their like minds are so twisted. So as for the rest, it ends with, we are all just a, quote, a herd of proliferating barbarians and a blight upon the face of the earth. What the heck?
When I first read this, I couldn't stop laughing actually, just the ridiculous,
it's so ridiculous
of this. But I mean, it's serious stuff, but it's just like,
yeah.
What? All right, anyway, the most ironic part is that they call us blight upon the face of the earth when really they're the ones spreading hatred, darkness, wars, and all their satanic stuff. So who's really the blight upon the earth here?
Yeah. All right, let's get into breaking up the family. So the final part of this document is the attack to the family unit, which gives them full control of the education of the young. It states that, quote, the man of the household must be housebroken to ensure that the junior will grow up with the right social training and attitudes.
So they do this by advertising media. They want to make sure that the father is weak and submissive by the time he is married. He is made to see that women demand security more than logical, principled, or honorable behavior.
It states that female will be ruled by emotion first and logic second. Now, this isn't what we're saying, this is what it says.
Definitely not.
And the battle between logic and imagination always wins, fantasy prevails, maternal instinct dominates so that the child comes first and the future comes second.
It states that the family unit must be carefully disintegrated. So they want state-controlled public education and state-operated child care centers so the child will begin to become detached from the parents at a young age, so the cabal can then start to instill the qualities they want them to have.
So the real goal is to make the son of the family prepared to go to war at any moment, and that you can't really be anything or accomplish anything if you don't go and fight.
This makes the entire family obey the cabal, who wrote father, mother, son, and daughter become useful beasts of burden or trainers of the same.
So another thing is it mentions that this volume marks the 25th anniversary of the beginning of the Quiet War. So this is dated 1979, which means that this is probably an updated version of what they published in 1954.
Now, WikiLeaks does have a couple published documents of some of these Bilderberg meetings, and we did read through some of these, but we didn't really find anything super shocking other than the fact that, I mean, it talked about globalism and how communism is actually a threat to the US. So.
But right, the big question is, were some of these leaked on purpose, and who leaked them? There's one dated for 1980, but also the documents for the silent weapons one may have been another doc that was passed around.
Anyway, it's hard to say what is going on, but one thing we do know is that, I mean, even if you didn't reference this document and just looked at everything we talked about from above, I mean, we all agree that this is pretty much happening right now in our society.
Right, this quiet war has really been controlling the population, and this is what the deep state is, and who QAnon, Trump, all of the insiders, whistleblowers, etc. has been fighting against.
And there is so much in the book, much of which we already have gone over in previous episodes, but really the entire book is just a description of details on how the deep state has been carrying out their plan and disclosure of aliens and UFOs.
But much of what they wanted to accomplish was to be before the year 2000, but there are good forces at work here in our world, and this really didn't come to fruition for them.
Yeah, and then we heard by the year 2012 they wanted to be in control, and Obama was president, and all seemed to be good for their world domination. But something happened in 2016. They lost the election.
So now this battle is really coming into the public's view because a war is being fought, and it's a battle over our minds. But most of you guys all know this since many of our episodes have been talking about this already.
But we wanted to give you a different perspective on this issue, and that we, the sheep, as they call us, are standing up to this and are not listening to the mainstream narrative as much.
Well, they call us sheep, but really they are more like a horrible virus infecting the earth with a nasty plague. And when we become awake, it just can't affect us anymore.
So go us, we are actually waking up. So congratulations, you guys. Well, what do you guys think? The more we expose this and get people to understand, the less control they have over us and the more power it gives to the people.
Yeah, and that's really what these series are about, understanding what's going on and learning how to resist it, not with violence, but with a clear mind and rational thinking.
And also having a strong faith in the divine. They hate that since they are trying to crush all religion. But anyway, we love you guys. We wouldn't be here without your support, so please share our content and make sure you hit like and subscribe. And until next time,
We'll see you out
on the edge.